Greetings, heroes. Hi, I'm Eric. I'm the creator of Party Wanted, and today I'm going to be showing you how to play the game. So the first thing you're going to do, after you've unboxed this magnificent foil we got here, you're going to separate all your cards based on their card backings. We'll show you some examples here, but they all have a unique icon, logo, as well as text telling you what it is. We're going to start with our lands, which are the green ones, and we're going to find our 5 starter lands. You'll know they're starter lands because there's a white S in the bottom right corner. We'll show you some samples here on the screen as well. Once you have these, we're going to shuffle these up and we're going to start to build our Pyramid of Chaos. Starting with our bottom tier, we go 3 cards. Then our middle tier, we go 2. And then for our bosses, you're going to go to your boss pile. You're going to make sure you have your correct level bosses at the top. For example, we are level 1. We're going to make sure our level 1 bosses are on top. We're going to put those right here. Now, just like our lands, we have some starter monsters. So you're going to go through the starter pile. If you're playing one of the newer versions, we've probably already updated the S on the card. But if not, we'll show you the 3 cards on screen right now, and you can just grab those and make sure that they're at the top of your monster pile. You can set up the rest of this pyramid any way you want. This playmat is just designed to show you where it goes, but we prefer monsters here, lands here, treasures here, and encounters here. Once you have that done, your entire pyramid is set up and you guys are ready to play the game. After you've done that, you're now going to select your heroes. You're going to do that by grabbing all of the cards from one specific class. You'll notice that because they have similar backings as well. We'll show you a few more samples on the screen here. You're going to start with your 2 hero level cards. Those are levels 1, 2, 3, and 4, dual-sided with art. We'll put that down. We have our health tracker right here, also dual-sided. We're going to start by matching our current arrow to our number. So for example, I have 6 health, I will match a 6 to that. If I were to take 2 points of damage, I would simply spin it down to a 4. We'll show you a more complex example in combat later on. You're then going to find 10 cards in your deck that have the same white S that we showed you earlier for the lands and the monsters. This is going to be our hero deck. We're going to shuffle these. We'll draw 4 cards face up. All the cards that we didn't use, we put off to the side using our Nemesis card to differentiate. We call that our build pool. When cards are added or removed, it's going to come from there. But this that we have in our hand will be what we play with for 99% of the game. Boom, boom. There we go. Once you have that, you are now set up and ready to play. Once every hero has selected their hero and drawn their first 4 cards, you're going to go and find the fastest hero. There are 4 stats on your card: speed, health, attack, and defense. We'll show you some samples on the screen here. The highest speed will go first, and what they're going to do is choose 1 land from this bottom row here. They're going to flip it over and reveal it. Each land has social, action, and a drinking. The social and the drinking are optional, however, the social will give the party some kind of benefit, whereas the drinking is completely optional and has no statistical value in any way. You must, however, complete the action, so we'll give you a couple examples here on screen. You're going to go around, you'll do your social first. The socials are themed on what lands they are. We'll show you maybe a few on screen now. Once you've completed that, you move to your action. That's going to include drawing something, fighting something. It'll be whatever the card tells you to do, right? Once you have completed that, you move on to the drinking step, and once that is done, a land is considered resolved. Once you finish this land, what you're going to do is moving clockwise. The next player will move up, choose 1 land from the row above, reveal that. Once that land is fully resolved, then it does not matter who for a boss, but one of the players will choose the boss that you will be fighting at the end of that level. Okay, so now we're going to move on to combat. We'll show you how that works here. So after you've drawn a monster, you know which monster you're going to fight. You're going to make sure that you take the level appropriate stats. In this case, we're level 1, so we'll be using our level 1 stats. We'll show you on the screen here. And then we're going to show you the 4 cards that we have in hand, and we're going to show you our options we have here. So you can see the monster is faster than us, so he would get to act first. If there are other players in the combat, they would get to go before him, but he would still go before us. And when a monster goes, they attack everyone at once at the whole table. So unless there's a way for us to speed ourselves up, we would have to defend ourselves in this combat. So we'll show you 2 different versions, one where we don't do that and one where we do. Once again, this number is multiplied by the number of players. So in this scenario, it only has 1 hit point as we are a single player entity. So our first option is, in order for us to do damage, we need to meet or beat its current defense, which is right here. We have an 8, we start with the 4. A simple +4 attack card would bring us to his threshold and cause him 1 point of damage, and since we are solo, it would kill him. However, with the higher speed, that means he would act first. You can see over here, we only have 1 base defense, so his 5 would come against our 1, and we would take whatever that difference is. In this current iteration, it would be 4, but I could choose to play defensive cards if I wanted to in order to help mitigate some of that damage. Another way we can do this combat is to use any of the buff cards, which are the class utilities with the symbols that can be played at the start of the combat. So as soon as the monster is revealed, I could use my shocker here to say, hey, actually, I'm gonna give myself a +2 and lower the enemy speed for 4 for the entire party. So now we are acting first, we are already at a 6, one more card, and now we have done a point of damage without taking any health. Depending on which character and classes you're going to play, sometimes it's more advantageous to take some damage, and in the wizard's case, it's usually better to avoid it if you can help it. Once you have taken all of the monster's hit points, once again, in this scenario, one person, one health, let's say there were 4 players, the same person cannot hit a monster more than once in a given turn without very rare cards or options to let them do it. So the idea is that each player is going to meet or beat its defense using their own cards from their hand and all the other augments that they can from the group, including your class skills. Cards will tell you if they're limited, how many times they can be used, things like that. You can use as many cards as you want in each round of combat, but you'll only get to draw one back at the end of every round. Some combats will have multiple rounds of combat, so you'll be drawing multiple cards, but you will also have cards in your deck that say once per combat. You can only use those cards one round of that combat. For example, if you're fighting a boss with 3 health, as a solo you would have 3 rounds. You must choose which round you're going to use that card, and you will not get it back until the combat is finished. Regular combat does not give you any rewards. Whether it lives or dies, you still just draw the one card at the end of the round. So once again, it's all about effective resource management and groups working together to make the monsters as dead as possible with the least amount of cards. One of the other unique mechanics we have is called burying. Instead of making a separate pile to discard face up here next to, it'll go face up under whatever pile it originated from. So encounters under encounters, treasures under treasures, bosses under bosses, and of course any of the cards that you played under your hero deck. This means that once you see art in your hero deck, you know it's time to shuffle up and put them face down again. Moving on to bosses. Boss combat is similar to monsters, except that all bosses have at least 2 health to start, and their action is a skill that they will take every round or whenever it is stated, and the group must deal with the effects of that. For example, our troll here will gain 2 defense at the end of every round, so if you have a larger attack card, it's probably going to be more beneficial for you to save that card until the second round of combat. You, of course, have to defend. We want players to understand that that is a mechanic and life is a resource, so you need to figure out the most effective way to use it. You can use things like our free stat tracking app or our built-in health tracker here for the monster health. So right now, in a solo example, once again, this guy would only have 2 health. If we're playing with 4 players, however, this guy would have 8 health. Now, that might be done in 2 rounds. If everyone can hit once, that's only 2 rounds of combat, but there could be examples where only 3 people are able to hit in a singular round. So you may have an extra round of combat. Sometimes monsters can be similar where you won't have the damage to hit, but by drawing the card at the end of each round, you will always up that opportunity to do damage and be able to attack next turn. Once a boss has been defeated, after all of its health is depleted, each hero is going to draw a treasure card. We'll throw some examples up here on screen. And you'll notice there's a few things. We have instant resolves, which are used immediately. We have single uses, which are determined at which point you want to use them. You get to hold and keep them. And then we have permanents, which are things that will stay with you the entire game unless you lose them, sacrifice them, or are killed. Speaking of permanents, you'll notice that some of the permanents have a sacrifice option. Any card that says sacrifice may be returned to the pile it came from for whatever benefit that sacrifice has. So for example, we'll throw a weapon on screen here. You'll have that permanent bonus applied the entire time, but if I were to sacrifice it, I would get that brief higher bonus, and then that weapon would be returned to my build pool. If it came from the treasure pile, it would be returned to the treasure pile. If it came from the encounters, back to the encounters. So once all the treasures have been resolved, each hero is then going to go to their build pool, which we mentioned earlier, we put to the side. You're going to choose one class or utility card of your choice and add that to your deck. So now you can start to customize your character a little more to suit how you want. And as well as that, if you're playing with at least 4 players, starting at level 1, each hero has an ultimate. I'll throw some of those on the screen right now. And then you are going to vote as a group on one hero to add that to their deck. What you're going to do is take all of the cards that you've added to your new deck. You're going to flip your hero over to level 2. You're going to add all the new cards into our hero deck. We're going to shuffle everything up, draw 4 new cards, put those face up, make sure we max up to our new health, which is now 8. We're going to take the lands that we used here. We're going to bury these under here, face up. And then we're going to replace these with 2 new lands. Same thing for our bosses. Something you can do if you want to not know where the starter lands are remaining is after you've placed the 2 new lands, you could shuffle all 5 of these and orienting them around. One of the reasons that we have the starter lands is because without them, there are mini bosses, we'll throw some examples here on the screen, that are hidden amongst the lands, and that could make a very short game for a very sad hero. It is important to note that at the end of the boss fights, you will be shuffling all of the cards back into your deck and drawing 4 more cards. So there's no point in saving anything. Go all out and kill bosses as fast as you can with as much damage as possible. That process will repeat for all 4 levels. You resolve 1 land from the bottom, 1 land from the middle, and then you'll fight another boss at whatever level your characters are. If you can complete all 4 levels and kill all 4 of the bosses, you have won the game. If at any point your entire party is wiped out, then you have lost, and you will leave sad and possibly with a hangover. There may be some rare scenarios in which you are fighting 2 monsters at once. If that is the case, what you're going to be doing is applying any of your existing base stats, so anything that's on your card, anything that's baked into your character, and then the cards that you play from your hand will have to be directed towards an enemy. We'll throw an example on the screen here, but for example, if I'm fighting these 2 things, and I start with, say, a base of 4, I would have to play a 4 attack here, and then also a 4 attack here if I wanted to hit them both at once. Playing that singular 4 would not make my base 8, and you'll still only get to draw 1 card at the end of these rounds. So multi-battles are especially challenging, and that's why we've restricted them to very few entities. Now, if you've played enough and you want more of a challenge, well, we got that for you. So what you can do is start off with our nemesis system right here. This will have specific mini bosses and bosses that are your character's nemesis. They will have different attacks, extra damage, acting before the heroes, but they will also provide a greater reward if you manage to kill them. And if that is still not enough of a challenge for you, what you can do is use the hard mode cards that come included in your heroes decks. These are mostly cards that are combo pieces to other cards that if you use these as starter elements, you will not have the combo pieces too. We also do certain things like no heal runs, where when you level up, you don't heal up to full. There are multiple ways for you to make this game harder, but whatever it is, we hope you have fun doing it. Thanks, and if you got any questions, as always, feel free to reach out to us on the Discord, on the Facebook. We'll put the links anywhere, and we're always here and happy to help. And thank you guys so much for all your support, and we hope you love the game.